Hi again. We're here for another unfortunate event. We're kind of just piggybacking off what we did a few weeks ago. We're kind of trying to ramp up the pressure on Congress to get something passed. I think the momentum is definitely in our favor. I think the background check and raising the age. I think that's a bunch of crap. I think we could do a lot more. So today, I just want us to kind of maybe go around, introduce ourselves, just talk about maybe how this has impacted our lives, what we hope to see moving forward. And with that, let's have a moment of silence first. All right, so I'm just going to start, if that's okay with you guys, and then we'll see who wants to go next. Okay, so life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is a well-known phrase in the United States Declaration of Independence. The phrase gives three examples of the inalienable rights which the Declaration says have been given to all humans by their Creator and which governments are created to protect. So it seems to me that life and happiness really take a backseat to liberty, especially when it comes to the ability to purchase firearms. So you have an 18-year-old kid that's able to walk into a gun store, basically buy weapons of mass destruction. He can't even get a beer to calm his nerves down before he goes and he commits this mass carnage. So heads to the school, kills 19, I think it was 19 children. And one of the survivors, I'm just so impressed. She's 11 years old, and she actually had the wherewithal through through something that nobody of any age should have to go through, to put her hand on her classmate, wipe her blood, and put it on her face, which in turn saved her life. The gunman must have seen the blood on her face and she was dead. That to me is absolutely just, it's amazing. Under such intense pressure that a little girl is able to do something like that. And obviously she's going to be traumatized for life, but I just still think that's just absolutely just amazing. Another thing that was pretty big in the news was Matthew McConaughey with the green Converse. Unfortunately, on the opposite end of the little girl that's life was spared. I get a little graphic. I just think you need to put a human touch to it. Just imagine, I don't have kids. I have a niece. Walk in. You're walking into just a scene of mass destruction to basically identify your child, and you see her green Converse maybe on her leg on the floor. Yes, like I said, it's graphic, but that's the nature of what we're dealing with, and we don't really hear that spoken about. And I think it gets lost on people sometimes. These people's lives are going to be hell. They're probably wishing that they would die. I can just think of just something silly as a girlfriend that I broke up with, just waking up in the middle of the night expecting her to be there and not there. Imagine that, but it's your child. It was just torn to shreds by bullets. That's just unthinkable. As always, everything with me goes back to our leaders. Our leaders are failing us miserably. We don't even have a background check. They're coming for our guns. That is so ignorant. Barack Obama could not even get a background check discussion on the floor of the House. We always hear how Obama's coming for our guns. And people are just so far detached from human life and empathy that they can't even think that people's lives are destroyed by these guns. They're just so obsessed with their Second Amendment rights, which, okay, so some of the weapons were a little bit more high-powered than muskets, when the Second Amendment was ratified, of course. But I mean, you know, each generation, the technology gets better and better, and that's just people's perception. You know, it's the Second Amendment. This is what we have. This is what we have the right to own. And it's insane. And I just think our leaders have so much blood on their hands. It's just so sad. They have to step it up. I mean, I say it all the time. I'm a Democrat, but I'm so hard on Democrats. They need to step it up. Republicans want stuff done. They get it done. You know, get it done. I mean, you're talking about human life. You're talking about children getting massacred. You know, we have midterms coming up, and I would love to fight on the side of the Democrats as opposed to against them. That's pretty much it. It's just something has to be done. I mean, it's not getting too late. It is too late, and I mean, we're at that point now where it's like, if we don't do something now, forget it. I mean, we're pretty much gone as a country as it is. But I think this is it. This is our last chance.
Christine's going to step in next.
The emotion that you shared, okay, 35 years as a teacher, another 6 tutoring kids after I retired, elementary students. In 2012, I was making Christmas cookies, and it came across the wire. I had the TV on as background noise, and that's when Sandy Hook occurred. There were no more Christmas cookies that day. And I guess with all the carnage that has been occurring as a wife, as a mother, as a grandma, and as a teacher, and as a human being, okay, which comes first, I don't understand the need to have weapons that, you know, it was the AK-47 that was used in war and was reconditioned into an AR-15. I understand having a gun for self-protection, handgun. I understand I don't hunt myself, never would, but I understand there are people who hunt. But hunting humans, to me, is beyond my understanding. So the 18-year-old that can go in and get the gun, because it's his birthday or it's usually a guy, unfortunately. There was an old saying in psychology that girls cry tears and boys cry bullets. And I think that's a huge piece of what we see happening, since most of the perpetrators are young men. The other thing I wanted to share is some of the statistics that were by the New England Journal of Medicine, again, in a world that doesn't believe in science and history now. So I know there are people who will say that's a lie, but actually the New England Journal of Medicine is a well-known around the world as being truthful. And the statistics I got was that since 2020, the leading cause of death for children and adolescents is firearms. 12 kids die from gun violence every day. 32 are shot or injured every day in the United States. I'm not talking about any other country. Since 1970, 2,032 school shootings in our country. 68% of the guns the shooter used were from home or a relative. And then since 2012, there have been 948 school shootings. 93% of the school shooters planned it in advance. That's a huge piece where when I was teaching and also a teaching guidance counselor, we spent a lot of time learning how to express to someone, usually it would be me or a teacher in the school, custodian, could be anybody that the kid trusts. That's who you go to if you're worried about your friend or yourself. And whether we like it or not, public school teachers really are the first people that are going to be with your kid longer than you are as a parent. 7.5 hours a day. They're in front of you, and it is incumbent upon us as teachers, I know that, to be more than just dispensing information. There needs to be a social component where the kids are taught how to help themselves and how to help each other. So for me, it's a kid issue. That's where I'm coming from. Go ahead, Mr. Ian.
I think we're at a particularly dramatic point in history. We have several issues before us in the upcoming elections that are tied together culturally and politically and economically. And the three that I think are going to be the most important would be guns, women's rights, particularly around her body rights for pregnancy, but the additional rights of pay and so on, and voting. Those are the three things: voting rights, gun rights, women's rights. If we don't take care of 2022, we will be beyond the pale as far as our personal futures and our future as a country. And I can only point to one of those pieces, which would be the January 6th committee that is currently hearing evidence against Trump and against the movement to usurp democracy and make it an autocracy. That's one of our three major issues. We've got to move, and we've got to move in the next 2 years. Otherwise, we're going.
You were saying that those guns are made for killing.
Yeah.
And the bullets kill. So when you tell somebody that, they say, well, so does a car. And you'll say, well, a car does other things. And then you say, well, you're a lunatic. You can say it's a car. But you need to be a licensed driver of a car. You need to, you need to be a licensed driver. It says on the gas pump, licensed drivers only. You should be qualified to use a weapon. Every year, like when I was in the military, every year I had to qualify on the M16, or I didn't carry one. You know, qualify for the M60, or I didn't carry one. This is, well, my Second Amendment right says I can go buy a gun like I buy chewing gum. No, you can't. You should. You have to be qualified, and maybe find a way to trace the bullets. Put an engraving on every bullet and every bullet casing. So when there's a shooting, now you know where that bullet came from and who sold it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's a good point. The idea that the military and police, National Guard, they have to requalify in weapons every year. As a teacher, I had to keep my teaching certificate by taking certain courses, a certain amount of courses every year, so that I could still be allowed to teach. My car being registered, smart move, absolutely. Whenever I hear, well, a car kills people, see, but a car was created to take a person from point A to point B. The gun was created to kill someone. You all don't see the difference? And that sort of discussion leaves me,
And the fact that they have to come up with that rationale is they're just saying, like, what I'm saying to you is ridiculous, but it could happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, it's a rationale that they know doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, that makes no sense.
And the fact that from 1791 until today, it's still, there's nothing that's changed in the Second Amendment. The right of the people to form a well-regulated militia.
I'm waiting for the well-regulated militia to show up.
Like I said, it's just a perception.
We've had
like,
the unregulated.
This is how we perceive it to be. Whatever the weapons were then, doesn't matter. This is what they are now, and this is what we're going to go and we're going to use. And if you don't like it, tough shit. That's
One
what
of the
we wanna
most
do.
conservative justices we ever had in my lifetime was Scalia. Scalia said in his ruling years ago, just because you have the right to own a weapon under the Second Amendment does not give you a right to have any kind of weapon you want. That was amazing to come from his mouth. I knew it would come from Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I never thought it would come from Scalia, and it did. And that, to me, is a clue. I'm surprised that the Republican Party today I'm used to the Republican Party from 1956 when I was a little kid, and I understand why my parents voted Republican. When I looked at the platform of the 56 Republican Party, it looks like the Democratic platform now. So it's not my parents' Republican Party anymore. I can imagine your father and my father from World War II are rolling over in their graves, because this is not the way. I don't understand that it's okay to open carry. I have a big issue with that. I don't know how the police would know the difference between a good guy with gun or a bad guy with gun when they come onto a scene where there's a big issue. How do you, what is it, is there like a sign? I think I'm a good guy, therefore I am. The cops aren't going to, they are outgunned, and they don't know how to tell the difference. Oh yeah, nobody can. How do you do that? So that good guy and bad guy with the gun business, you know, from the NRA is like so ridiculous it isn't even funny. We saw about the good guys that were waiting outside of the classrooms. They stood there and waiting to be told it was okay. Really? No, I thought I didn't realize really until that last incident that was so many kids that it was really maybe not the police's job to protect us. I didn't really know that. I really thought that's what their job was. And I'm amazed by that kind of, well, it's not our job. Oh, for real? So y'all just stand around? Y'all didn't? That mother ran into the school and got her 2 kids out, didn't she? She first she was handcuffed, then she knew a couple of cops on the course. They knew in the police force. They knew her. They took the cuffs off, and in the school she went. Yes.
Well, you have to understand, I think, that the nature of firearms has changed so significantly. In the Civil War, a company was about, if I remember correctly, about 30 people. They were expected to fire off 3 rounds a minute. So half a company, about 20, 25, or a little less, one guy with a machine gun and 8 clips can fire more guns in 3 minutes than more rounds than they could have, and half a company could have fired in the Civil War. You expect 600 rounds for an AR type rifle. I don't know what your experience with the military was. I'm sorry, you were.
I was a security police. I did the M16 and the M6, which if I could buy one, I might want to buy one because it's a pretty impressive weapon.
Pretty powerful
Yeah,
weapon.
it's a pretty impressive.
What really gives me like just total despair. There's nothing I can do to come back from this feeling that I have. I know it. Is the fact that we're mocked as woke liberals. So we just had this massacre, and it's like they literally. I don't think I see like we're being mocked,
But that's
because we care that children, you know, a common just human emotion that we really feel that these children, their lives are being destroyed, and they mock us. And that to me, it's like when you just totally have no empathy at all. I mean, you're mocking people.
And do you think we need to take that in as you know, something that's going to debilitate us?
No, I think we need to take that in as we're done.
Yeah.
I do this to make myself feel better. I don't have any hope. That's honestly, that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah,
I want to do whatever I can to help and get out there and get the word out, but it's also to make me feel better because I know there's people like that aren't going to change. I need to be out here to kind of keep them in check and be like, you know what? If you call it out, and they don't care, but it's like if you're going to be a scumbag, then you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it out loud.
Right.
If you're okay with it, that's fine. But you're basically taking us down to a road that we're not coming back from.
Well, the idea that people have to be collateral damage for any amendment. That's why there are amendments. They were changed. The Constitution didn't have 27 amendments. Now it does because things get changing. But in a world where, in a democracy that we see being torn down piece by piece, and have for the last 6 years, and actually since Reagan.
Well, yeah.
So more than 6 years. It's absolutely fascinating to me that 1984 wasn't nearly, and Handmaid's Tale was nearly not enough. Nasty. Now it's worse, and it's 2022. You know, so it's that kind of backward sliding into a type of society that I just never thought I never realized how fragile our democracy was until 2016. That's when it started to hit me.
Like I said, I really truly believe that we're towards the end.
I didn't realize how fragile it was, and that's why this election coming up is important, and 2024 is like incredibly like, let's fix this now, because I don't. You and I have talked about it, of course, many times, about how far we've fallen and how quickly this happened. And as I said, as a child advocate my whole life, there's nothing worse in my world than to have kids be held hostage to a gun. I have a hard time with that. So, I mean, I've gone in this court and testified in front of judges and to save kids from being abused. So, I've been there as a guidance teacher and as a teacher. I've been in court to protect them from being hurt. And the idea that I can't protect those kids from somebody coming in their school and just mowing them down as though they're, I don't know, diseased squirrels, is extremely painful for me to know. And that's why I'm here tonight, and that's why I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah. And so the rule of law is the thing that we have to maintain. We have to understand that we got to move forward. And the only way to do it is through talking to people, writing to the senators, as much as they don't pay attention sometimes, and talking to our congressmen and keeping it current, keeping it in front of us. So, you know, that's what I would hope we're going to be able to do at some point. So, I would your opinion of where we're going it matches the latest Yahoo poll on both Democrats and Republicans in terms of their optimism for democracy.
Yeah, the Republican poll you said was like 51%.
51 versus 53.
We're headed for.
Yeah, but they feel that we are threatening them because we want to. They have been told that things like Social Security and Medicare and food stamps all enable us to take from them, and they don't understand the nature of government. Even the conservatives that I saw today on TV, and they're very willing to have a small government, but there's a large contingent among them that is saying we don't need any government, and those are the white fringe, white nationalists that are most extreme and are more than willing to bring out weapons. And quite frankly, we should be worried about that. But here we are.
Yeah, that's a fact. But anyway, just getting off track a little bit. I've been doing this for about a year. I ran for commissioner last year, and again, Democrats. I'm a Democrat, so I'm not going to change our registration. But the leaders are absolutely pathetic. Our leader, both on both sides. So I've made a conscious decision. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I don't need power. I don't need to be paid. But you know, you have to be a yes man and go along for everybody. No, I can't do that because there's just so much crap from both sides that just have these narratives. This is what you say, and this is how you present yourself. No, I'm at that point. I'm allowed enough as it is. But we're at the point where if you don't get out there and tell it like it is, and just cause, I call it good trouble from John Lewis. I mean, it's a must. I just really feel that that's the point we're at. I'm not going to help anybody being a commissioner or whatever. I need to get out and just be pissed off and just yell. And
I would be wary of doing false comparisons to say that they're both just as bad.
Well, as far as, let me clear it up, as far as their leadership skills, not as far, so I'm a Democrat because that's where my beliefs align.
Right,
so
right,
as far as that goes, but how they lead and how they try to manipulate you, and how I called out a certain Democrat, high-profile Democrat, and
Yeah, you can get squashed.
I was like, okay, you know what? He's a crook. You don't like it, I'm done.
Right.
I mean, as far as that.
Yeah, no, I know.
Well, again, I just be careful in posing it as the Democrats are just as bad as the Republicans, even in leadership. Unless you have specifics, you can roll out.
He has some specific.
I understand. He's got one specific,
It's like,
but
no, it's
to say that
it's like a style. It's not beliefs. I believe that the Democrats are certainly the lesser of the two evils, but how they actually govern and tried to reel me in and make me something I wasn't, and being a good, so like as far as that goes, you know, not as far
can't
as
speak to your experience. Yeah,
yeah, again, it was an experience that was really disappointing
believe me,
because you know, I'm 48, or 47, and it took me this long to actually, you know, be able to run, and then I did, and I was so many Democrats let me down, people I looked up to.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes,
Yeah. All right.
it's just a really poor experience.
Yeah, it's. My mother used to be the director of a nursing service in Chester and vicinity, and it was a visiting nursing service. And part of her job, when Senator Bell, Republican, represented the district, was to go into Harrisburg with him and testify at different committees. And she was looking for money to open well baby clinics in Chester back in the 60s and 70s. And I've been with her on meetings, not in Harrisburg, but I saw how one person, and you know her well, could walk into a room and people go, "Oh God, it's her." Look out, we're in trouble.
Yeah,
and because she was a strong, tall, big woman, and it was hard to miss her. And when she had something to fight for, which was the poor in the city of Chester, that's what she did. And she did it single-mindedly, and she bugged everybody enough that all of a sudden, you know, the money came from the mayor of Chester, who of course was Republican. And all of a sudden, the money was there for Ann to open up that clinic on 3rd and Colonel. And the one at 5th and Penn, that kind of thing. The money came in because she kept bugging them. And a lot of it is showing up, which is what you've been doing. You show
getting other people
showing
to show
up
up.
and being a big mouth. People don't. I say it all the time, and people always look at me like they don't answer. Like I don't. No, you have to.
You have to.
She got her money. Why did she get her money? Why do I kind of get?
She didn't get it by being mousy.
Why do I get like my word of message out there and piss people off? Because I'm loud. You
Part
have
of the
to
problem I have with Democrats, and I'm a Democrat,
politically correct.
is that we are, no, I'm thinking of the person on the street. We are still thinking that the best will happen. Kumbaya time, okay? We're lazy when it comes to voting. We're lazy when it comes to doing this stuff. Because there's this feeling of, oh, it'll all work out.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Everything will just be fine.
I'm eventually going to shake that Republican's hand, and we're going to walk.
Everything's going to be
With our arms
fine.
around
We're
each
walking
other.
to the sunset. Yeah.
These days
No,
are so
and that's
far
sort of
gone.
where Joe Biden was, I think, after all the years in the Senate, how he felt comfortable, you know, working across the aisle. And I really think he really believed when he first took the presidency that, you know, especially with his character and his years of, you know, service, and, you know, a lot of, you know, some of the Republicans would start to, and it's not how it works.
And it's even at the point where there is zero compromise. Like, oh, that sounds good, but no, because if I do agree that I'm going to get primary, like it's to the point where it's like, no, nothing, no compromise, zero, because that's the enemy. Like that's what
why
we become.
people like Liz Cheney is taking a
Very
huge
honorable.
hit because she knows damn well she's not going to. She's already been primary. She's not going to be hired again to do her job. And I'd never realized until as an adult that really the representatives and the senators and the presidents, well, especially the senators, anyone serving in Congress, it was not supposed to be a lifetime job.
Oh, exactly.
It was supposed to be service.
Term limits.
You do a couple terms and you leave. It has become, now we see it, this is what you do for the rest of your life. You
And
never
we're
go
so
back to your other life.
complacent, and our expectations of them have become so low. They know they're in it for life. They just know, like, these suckers, I'm going to tell them
That's
doing
where
here,
you
they're
get
going to keep
people like
reelecting
Mitch
me.
McConnell. I mean,
I'm
it's
going to
just-
keep making money.
Yep. Right? You can make $175,000 a year. That's your base salary.
Your
And
all the recess they have.
When, a couple years ago, and I don't remember which senator or congressman it was probably Ted Cruz, because he can't stand the ground he walks on, who said, you know, we need a raise because we're not making enough money. And my first comment was, oh, please come to my house. I'll show you how to set up a budget on a whole hell of a lot less than $175,000. No problem, baby boy. Come on down. Because that's, they get into that ivory tower idea and they think that everyone works that way, that everyone
They
lives
put
like that.
themselves on the pedestal.
Yeah, well, that,
And we let them stay on it when they have no business being there.
they really believe, and there's a group of them that really believe that $100,000 is chump change, and they just can't live on that. And I just kind of look at the husband and go, oh yeah, no, you really
I'd love
can.
to do the math and see how many days they actually work, because they have like obscene
90 days a year. A couple
Is that what it
years
is?
ago, I did check. Yeah, 90 days.
90 days a year in session or in Washington.
Correct.
Theoretically, there's
Recess. Always on recess.
90 days.
well,
As a
theoretically,
teacher, I worked 190 days for my money, and 2.5 months off in the summer. In the beginning, I was going to graduate school every summer. Most of my teacher friends had jobs in the summer, but 190 days was my norm. 90's theirs, and it's like, anybody see a problem with this? Let me do the math. I don't. That kind of entitlement has always bothered me. So that's, you know.
but I
part of it.
don't want to oversimplify the idea that the Republicans are just slackers because they only work 90 days. Now, some may, but if you're going to keep your constituents, you have to be out in the field.
Yes.
You have to understand what they want for their laws. Theoretically, they're doing more than what you see in Congress,
That's
which
true.
is,
That's true.
I think that's when they're the laziest, personally. But whatever.
That's true.
And I do agree with that to a point, but it's less than it used to be. One town hall, you get
Well, there are-
you're getting their ideas,
there
and then that you have, you know what their fears are, and it's like,
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, I can't speak much on the locally level, and I really can't speak on the national level. But I just think we have to fully understand what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. I'm just reluctant to make overly generalized like they're not doing their job. Because I really don't know what their job is. And
respectfully, I'm perfectly okay with it.
I'm gonna have to sit down. burn
Respect,
my-
no,
All
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
seriously,
No,
respect.
No. I understand,
They're
and
just not. They're doing the job that they're expected to do, which again, like I said, their expectations are so low.
All right.
You know what I mean? Like they've just been failures for so long. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, we don't hold them accountable. I mean, it's just what they're already doing. Who knows? Who cares? You know,
Well, we have-
hate each other. They've got us pitted against each other. They don't have to do anything.
Well, again, that tends to be a strategy that to pit people against each other
Oh, of
is
course.
both a
They're massive.
natural. Yeah, but the reality is we have sources of information now that are specifically pivoting toward a news-free environment. It's all politics all the time, and I'm talking specifically of Fox News. And again, people will say, well, Fox has good news coverage. And if you actually look at the news before 6 o'clock, now maybe you can make that argument. But after 7 o'clock, when you've got some of the regular anchors coming on, we are into full fact-free universe. And today the Fox News, well, in the last 2 times I've checked on their website or their broadcast, Fox News was covering things such as the new muck they've raked up on Joe Biden's son, whether women, transgender people are allowed to participate in women's sports. And at the same time that they're talking about these major topics, you've got commentators on CNN, MSNBC talking about the January 6th insurrection. So there are different messages that the parties will hone to. But again, I think the major issue is for the individuals. We will see whether America wants to see democracy or not, and that will be very soon. So that's about all I have to say.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I want to keep doing this. You know, it's whatever the hot topic, you know, hot button subjects are, because this is the rest of my life. I mean, I want to be out here. I want to be doing this, raise awareness.